Hey everyone, welcome back to another explainer. Okay, so today we are unpacking something truly mind-bending, like literally. We're looking at the idea that the reality you're experiencing right now, what you're seeing, what you're feeling, even how you're experiencing time passing, isn't just some objective live stream of the outside world. Nope, it's actually a highly edited, continuously tweaked, and honestly mostly constructed story generated entirely by your own brain. Basically, your mind is back there doing a whole lot of guessing and filtering before it ever hands you the final script of what we call reality.
So, ask yourself, do you actually see the world exactly as it is? I mean, most of us would intuitively just say, well, yeah, of course. We trust our eyes, right? We trust our skin, we trust the ticking of the clock. But what if I told you that fundamental trust is kind of misplaced? Today, we're going to shift gears. We're moving from being just passive observers to active participants in our own sensory experience. We are going to expose the glitches in the matrix of your own perception. Are you ready?
All right, let's dive into this. Section 1. The mind's video editor. Cutting out the blur.
Okay, think about looking out the window of a really fast-moving train. Everything is just this blurry smear rushing by, right? But when you're walking down the street and you dart your eyes from, say, a parked car to a tall building, your vision doesn't blur at all. Why is that? Actually, I want you to try this interactive experiment later. Go look really closely at yourself in a mirror, and then look quickly from your left eye to your right eye. You know what? You will never actually see your own eyes in motion. That little journey between the two, it's completely invisible to you.
So the reason you can't catch your own eyes moving is because of what psychologists call a central mechanism of inhibition, which is basically just a fancy way of saying it's an automatic brain reflex. You see, to prevent you from getting severe motion sickness every single time you glance around a room, your brain acts like a master video editor. It literally, and I mean literally, shuts off your visual perception for a fraction of a second during rapid eye movements. It just cuts out the blurry transition footage and seamlessly stitches the clear frames together. So yeah, your brain momentarily blinds you just so your conscious experience of the world feels smooth and stable. Wild, right?
Moving right along, Section 2, Tricking Your Sense of Touch, the Illusion of the Skin. Now, if our eyes can be so completely fooled, what about our sense of physical touch? Picture this. Imagine dragging your finger across a smooth, flat piece of cardboard for a few inches. Okay, now imagine dragging it the exact same distance, but this time across a row of closely spaced thumbtacks. Which distance feels longer to you? Counterintuitively, the smooth, empty space actually feels physically shorter to your touch than the quote-unquote filled space of the tacks, even when they are measurably exactly identical in length. It turns out when there are more sensory data points packed into a space, your brain just artificially stretches out the distance.
So filled spaces trick the brain into feeling extra length. But what's truly mind-blowing is how our emotions get involved in all this. Let's say you drag your finger across a texture you find physically unpleasant, like maybe a coarse, scratchy plush fabric that makes you shudder a bit. Your brain will actually register that distance as physically shorter than a pleasant texture of the exact same length. Think about that for a second. Your emotional recoil literally alters your internal spatial geometry. And if you add mental fatigue into the mix, oh man, your judgment of physical space becomes entirely unreliable.
Which brings us to Section 3, the relativity of time, the buffering video of the mind.
Okay, so if visual space is edited and physical space is an illusion, well, time must be too. We tend to think of time as this universal, objective ticking clock, but your brain doesn't actually have a rigid stopwatch hidden inside it. Instead, it relies on what we call psychological time. And this is simply the quantum of change in physical sensation. Basically, your brain measures the passage of time based purely on how much sensory data is happening in the present moment.
And this brilliantly illustrates exactly what I mean. If you're sitting completely still in a quiet room, time just drags, doesn't it? But if we introduce a change, say we tap your left hand and then suddenly tap your right hand, that sudden shift in spatial location and sensory intensity forces your brain to process a massive amount of new data. Because there's a high quantum of change, your brain just assumes, hey, more time must have passed. By simply altering the intensity or the location of a touch on your skin, we can drastically stretch out your internal perception of time compared to the actual time that's elapsed.
All right, let's keep going. Section 4, the math of sensation, the illusion of counting touches.
So time and touch don't just warp distances, they actually warped our perception of numbers too. Which begs the question, can we even trust our basic ability to count physical impacts on our own body? I mean, if an object touches you once, can you feel it twice? Logically, the answer has to be no, right? One touch equals one sensation. But as we're learning, human perception is anything but logical. It's built entirely on a foundation of expectations. Check this out. Psychologists have identified this fascinating glitch in human perception. It's called the Vexer-Fehler phenomenon. Here's how it works. If a researcher intensely trains your brain to expect 2 points to touch your skin simultaneously, your brain prepares for it, right? Now, if they then sneakily touch you with only a single object, your brain will still construct the physical feeling of 2 distinct points. You will literally swear up and down that you were touched twice. No way around it. Because the reality is, we don't actually feel numbers. We infer them based on expectation. Two-ness or oneness isn't some objective physical fact transmitted through your nerves straight to the brain. It's a mental assumption. A sensation is really just raw data, and the brain assigns a number to it based on what it expects to happen. If you expect 2 touches, your brain will manufacture the sensation of 2 touches right out of thin air just to satisfy its own prediction. It's wild.
Okay, bringing it all together now. Section 5, constructing your world, finding level ground.
So if vision is heavily edited, touch is totally relative, time is flexible, and numbers are just assumed, how do we even know which way is up? Seriously. Well, our sense of what is level or horizontal is highly subjective, and it constantly depends on external visual anchors. Think about it. If you're in total darkness, your internal compass starts to drift. If there's an uneven distribution of light, like say a bright window in an otherwise dim room, your brain will actually tilt your internal sense of the horizon toward that light. And if you're surrounded by ascending or descending visual planes, like if you're walking up a ramp or standing in a uniquely angled room, your brain just skews your horizon to match the lines around you.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the effect of total darkness. In bright daylight, the visual cues of trees, roads, and buildings totally lock your subjective horizon into place. We all know that feeling. But if I place you in a pitch-black room and ask you to point straight ahead to a level horizon, you will almost always point too low. Why? Well, because without those visual anchors, your eye muscles naturally relax and droop downward. And here's the kicker. Your brain interprets that slight physical muscle droop as the actual horizon falling, and it drags your entire spatial orientation down right along with it.
So what does this all mean? It means there is absolutely zero guarantee that the world we experience matches objective reality. Zero. Every single thing you perceive is the result of your brain doing rapid, complex math behind the scenes. It's suppressing blurs, stretching time out, guessing at touches, and just desperately clinging to light to figure out which way is up.
I want to leave you with this final thought today. Space, time, and sensation are not objective facts. They are a continuous story edited, refined, and constructed entirely by your own mind. So the next time you feel absolutely 100% certain about something you saw, something you felt, or how much time just passed, take a second. Ask yourself, is that the objective truth, or is it just the brilliant, highly edited story your mind decided to tell you today? Keep questioning, keep learning, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.